Alright, welcome back to lesson 3. We're going to go over the organization of the human body. Your learning goal is I will be able to accurately organize the human body. So we have two major sections of our human body. We have an axial portion, which consists of your head, neck, and trunk. Then we have our appendicular portion, which is the upper and lower limbs, so your arms and your legs, your toes, all of those things. Your trunk is where your stomach and your ribs and things like that are. So those are the two main sections of our human body. Okay. The next thing is our body cavities. We have a couple of these. More than a couple, but you will see. So at first you need to know what a cavity is. In the body, it is an empty space within a solid object, in particular the human body. So we have dorsal or posterior cavities. They're a continuous internal cavity located near the back of the body. This includes your cranial and spinal cavities. So you have one that is where your spinal cord lives. Kind of. So your first one is your cranial cavity. It's the opening inside your skull that holds your brain. And then your second one is your spinal cavity. It's the internal opening that houses your spinal cord in your spine. So one is up here where your brain is, and one holds your spinal cord. Alright, so then we have several more ventral or anterior cavities. So again, these are continuous internal openings that include the thoracic and abdominal pelvic, which is your abdominal and pelvic cavities. So your thoracic cavity is where your heart and your lungs live, so it's right behind your ribs. Your abdominal cavity is the space bound by the abdominal walls, the diaphragm, and the pelvis that house the majority of your digestive tract. So it starts right underneath your ribs where your diaphragm is, and it goes all the way down to your pelvic bone. The pelvic cavity is the internal opening that houses the reproductive and exterior organs. So it's in between your two pelvis bones, where your bladder and things like that sit. And then for your diaphragm, which is not a cavity, however, it is a muscle that separates your thoracic cavity and your abdominal pelvic cavity. It's the muscle when you take a really deep breath, it expands and pushes everything down. Okay. We have just some other little ones, like your middle of your ear, which is the opening to the skull that serves as a chamber for transmitting and amplifying sound. Hey, stop. This is like your eardrums. You have your nasal cavity, so the opening within your nose. That's how you breathe. Your oral cavity, so your mouth. Opening within the mouth. And your orbital cavities is where your eyes, because your eyes sit back, they sit in an orbital cavity. Alright, that's all of our axial positions and all of those things. This is now how our body is organized from smallest to largest. So the tiniest things that we have are subatomic particles. Protons, neutrons, and electrons, they make up a cell. An atom is a tiny particle that makes up chemicals like hydrogen and carbon. A molecule is particles that consist of atoms joined together, so like water or your sugars. A macromolecule is a large particle consisting of molecules. This is DNA or protein in the body. An organelle is a functional part of the cell, like a mitochondria or lysosomes. Remember, our mitochondria is like the brain of our cells. A cell, which is just a basic unit of structure and function. So we have several of these in the body. We will go into, you have muscle, nerve, blood cells, things like that. So stem cells. A whole bunch of cells make up tissues. So tissue is a layer of mass of cells with specific function. This example is adipose tissue, which adipose tissue is fat tissue. You also have your muscle tissue, things like that. And then a whole bunch of organs, or a whole bunch of tissues make up an organ. So a group of different tissues with a function make up organs. So like your heart is made up of different tissues, so are your kidneys, so are your stomach. And then a group of organs with a common function makes up an organ system. So like your digestive system has your stomach, your intestines, your colon, all of those things, and it helps push and digest your food out. And then finally, all of your organ systems make one big organism. In this case, we are talking about the human body. Okay, that is all I have for you guys. You guys will have your practice and then your mastery. Thanks, guys.